All right, welcome back. Here we are on a Monday, back after a long, long vacation. One that Sean Barnard was actually at the white party and up there in the Hamptons, Michael Rubins all white party. Sean Barnard, how was it?
Yeah, I wish, man. I was up suited out in an outdoor wedding Saturday, so I was big time struggling. Not
Wow,
quite the AC I assume Michael Rubin White party is, but I was all suited up and ready.
you were an outdoor wedding this weekend.
Yeah, was not.
That's it.
It was a good time, but it was rough. Yes.
And on Saturday, I played golf on Saturday. I put that picture out. I was soaked. Like I have never experienced anything like that on Saturday playing golf. We teed off at 8. I played 3 holes. I was drenched from top to bottom. My pants were just like what is going on right now? It was soup. And you had to strap on a suit for that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Was not a fun time up there in North Jersey, so but kind of close to the Hamptons, I guess. But
Oh, there you go.
yeah. But yeah. Shout out to Colby and Rachel for getting married there.
Nice, nice work. I heard this question, so I'm not trying to steal it, but if you got a family, how do you get to Michael Rubin's all white part? Like Tom Brady. He's got a family, he's got kids. Aren't like the 4th of July, is that supposed to be a holiday you spend with your family? Like, how do you get to Michael Rubin's all white party if you have kids and a wife and you can't bring them? That's the question I want to know.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for how you do that. I don't have the nuances of navigating the socialite world of celebrities there. I did notice like very few Sixers. I was very much on the lookout for that. Did not see Joel Embiid. Did not see Tyrese Maxey in any pictures yet. So interested in anything of note. Our guy James Harden, of course, making his appearance, would not miss an event like that whatsoever. But it is quite the spectacle. I do like digging through and trying to find the most obscure celebrities that do find their way there.
And it seems like it's nothing but just pictures, right? Like
Yeah.
I assume it's like, hey, come in, here's the cocktail hour, and then we're gonna get crazy on the inside. I just have to believe that's how it plays out. But it does seem like one big photo op, and it's like, all right, gag me. You got Jake Paul with Livy Dunn, and it's like, all right, dude, like whatever. It's each their own. That's the high society. I get it. I'll tell you what, if I was a neighbor of Michael Rubin's up there in the Hamptons, I'd be miserable because the people that were coming in and out, the security, the guards, all of that's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, it is quite the scene. Shout out Michael Rubin. He just does his thing. He just knows everyone. He's
Yeah,
just
he
the
does.
most Michael Rubin guy. I still can't put a finger. Obviously, we know the fanatic stuff and all that type of thing, but it is amazing, like how plugged in and how every single person he seems to know.
He's got the gift of gab and very talented at what he does. That's for damn sure. All right. And apparently it was a hell of a white party on the 4th of July or whatever it is. We do have actual things to discuss here. And front and center, the Philadelphia 76ers, still the topic of conversation for a lot of us in the city. Of course, the Fighting Phils go on the road and lose 2 of 3 to the Atlanta Braves. It's okay. They're still on pace to win 105 games. So allow me to, of course, get into some 76ers conversation with you. And big signing over the weekend with Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
And I had some fun with some people on social media who called us on a national show a circus in Philadelphia for signing Paul George and still dealing with Joel Embiid. And I took offense to that to a point. I get it from afar. You want to call it a circus, but at the end of the day, Daryl Morey's been on one. And
Yep.
getting Caleb Martin now to this lineup, what does it do for the Sixers? How important will Caleb Martin be? Your thoughts right now? And they're still not finished as far as putting this roster together. But Caleb Martin signing does what for you, Sean?
It's a huge deal. That is the final piece of their starting five that my expectation is it will be Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid is what my expected starting five for this team. Obviously, a new piece could come in and change that, but I feel pretty good about going to battle with those five. With Caleb Martin specifically, he's a guy who's had his best games when the lights have been the brightest, that he does show out in the playoffs. He's also a guy who's had an extreme level of success playing against the Boston Celtics, which should be a big deal to the Sixers team. This is the most switchability, athleticism, and versatility that we've seen at positions around Joel Embiid. I think having guys that are legitimate plus perimeter defenders, which Caleb Martin absolutely fits the bill of. Paul George, I still think at this point in his career fits the bill of, and Kelly Oubre proved he can fit the bill of last year. Having those three all on the floor together is going to ease the defensive load on Joel Embiid by a pretty significant margin. And Martin's still a guy who can absolutely get red hot from deep and produce on the offensive end as well. So I'm a huge fan of this move. As much as Paul George is the showcase name, and we know Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, I think Caleb Martin is going to be a guy that ends up being a fan favorite and one of the top players in a lot of people's minds, which I think is going to be cool to see.
Yeah, more of like, I'm a simple guy. I'm a simple man, baby. And I talked specifically with you about this right from the jump. And these moves, to me, like, if they get to another playoff run and Joel Embiid is healthy, they need to figure out how the hell they can hang with these teams. Or am I asking for too much to actually play a little bit better than the team that they're going up against, their opponent, when Joel Embiid is not on the floor? Like, that was the biggest slap in the face throughout the course of this playoff run. Again, I get it, Bell's palsy and everything else that came with the Sixers. And I never looked at this franchise this year and the roster put together and said, okay, this is a team that can compete with the Boston Celtics. This is a team that can actually get to an NBA Finals. I look at the names, I look at the roster currently constructed, and they're not done. As I said, who knows what happens throughout the course of the season too. This is a roster. This is a starting five that can go out there and play defense, that can score, that can run with some of the best of them. And the odds makers are saying it. That's fine. Yeah. Put that to the side because I don't care what Vegas has to say. I'm a diehard Sixers fan. I love this offseason. I love the draft picks. I love what they're doing right now with Caleb Martin, bringing him in. Of course, Oubre back. You got Drummond to fill in for Joel Embiid, Maxey, Paul George. It goes on and on. Like, as a Sixers fan, is there anything negative other than the fact that Paul George is 34 years old and you gave him a 4-year deal? Understood. Other than that, what's the negative? Where are the flaws with this franchise right now, or the lineup and roster construction in your mind?
Yeah, so the two things that I'll jump to, and for starters, we are nitpicking that I'm with you that this has been pretty much a home run, slam dunk, that everything has gone according to plan. The two things that I still think could use to be addressed is, number one, having some sort of true point guard. That I think Tyrese Maxey showed a ton of growth in that area last year and still could potentially grow in that area moving forward this year, but I still think naturally he's going to be best as a score first guy. So I do wonder if there are options where, if that is Kyle Lowry coming back, if they believe he has something in the tank, or a Tyus Jones, if he's willing to take the minimum or something like that, I think a true point guard would be beneficial. And also like a power forward that is like a rebounding monster. That the Sixers still struggled on the boards, and while Andre Drummond's going to help with that a lot, I don't think Drummond and Embiid are going to share the floor pretty much at all this year. Maybe a slight chance in a must get a rebound possession or something like that, but he's not going to be a guy playing next to Joel Embiid. So I think adding a power forward that is a true plus rebounder, even Joel, for all the things that he's great at, rebounding is not something that I would consider him especially gifted at. So having a guy that can help with that, but that is nitpicking. In the end, I'm still pretty happy with everything that they have done, and feel good about going to battle with this crew for sure.
Yeah, and I know we've been there and done that, and it's always a nerve-wracking time for us out there when we start getting expectations for a Philadelphia sports team in the summertime or whatever offseason it may be. But that's where I'm at, and I'm excited. I know that I have definitely been one of these guys that says, I want to enjoy the run. I want, I don't want to really get caught up because it takes so much to win an NBA championship. And I'm maybe kicking the can down the road with that conversation. But at the same time, I'm being honest with you too. Like, we do this day after day, night after night. We're tuning in. And this franchise has really put their best foot forward this offseason. You could tell that Daryl Morey had a plan. Yep. And as easy as it may seem for a lot of us out there, they just paid more and Paul George came on the record. More on that in just a second. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you, because that's what the host said to me. He said, don't bet with your heart. I'm not going to take the Sixers to win the NBA championship at this point in time. I'm not going to do that. But from the standpoint of where I'm at as a Sixers fan, I have to be excited about the pieces that they have put together. And oh, by the way, that starting five right now with Joel Embiid and the growth of Tyrese Maxey, there is so much to like. And it just feels like, you know what? Last year was last year. Let's put that behind us, on to the next. And I'm not telling you I had that feeling 2 weeks ago, Sean, and here we are.
Yeah, I think they're the clear-cut second best team in the East. I still give the Celtics that respect for being the top
Absolutely.
dogs, having the ring on the finger. You have to, and obviously they're retaining all their key pieces, so they're doing a very nice job of that. But the other thing to keep in mind when praising Morey for all this is how just considerate he was of all these salary cap repercussions. That this offseason specifically is really the first time with this new CBA and all the restrictions that come with it. This has been the most impactful collective bargaining agreement that I can remember in the NBA. And Paul George is a primetime example of him coming free was a push come to shove. The Clippers didn't want to go above and restrict themselves moving forward. Klay Thompson, another example of that. That if you flash back to past years, these were both conversations where you just kind of assume they're going to find a way to get it done, that like they'll just go above, pay a little extra, get in the tax. That's really not on the table anymore with the CBA, that you really are handcuffing yourself to the point where you're getting draft picks stripped or moved to the back of the line and a ton of other repercussions. Can't do sign and trades, things like that are brought on. So I think we're seeing that play out. And that's been a part of Daryl Morey's plan for making sure they have all this flexibility, that they're not putting themselves in any sort of restrictive situations. That's why they traded James Harden for just expiring contracts. And the books were as wide open as they were this summer. So this was about Morey thinking down the line, having that wide view, and we're seeing the benefits of it on full display right now.
Excellent stuff. And again, Maxey gets the 5-year extension. We knew that was coming. Much deserved. Hell of a video put out by the team last night. You know, this is a guy that we discussed that should, who knows how this works out, but could very well play his entire career here in Philadelphia.
Should.
Love everything that he has brought to the table, the energy, the vibes that he provides. And oh, by the way, 25, 26 points per game last year. I tweeted you. You didn't respond to that. I don't think you did. What's the number? How many points does Tyrese Maxey average per game next year?
It's a good question. So the trio of Embiid, Paul George, and Maxey last year combined for 81.3 points per game, which would be the highest of any trio in the NBA. I do think there's a little regression across the board for all three of them. I think Embiid probably sits right around that 30 number as opposed to the 33 that was the case this year. Obviously, 30 still incredibly impressive there. But I'm going to go 30 for Embiid. I'll go 24 for Maxey, 22 for Paul George is my prediction there.
Now, are you, and again, this is just us bloviating here. Are you locked in on that? Because I understand and I really want to be cautious when I do pitch this idea because Joel Embiid is still the best player on the floor. But is there a chance that Nick Nurse says, you know what, like Maxey is the franchise? Like let's ride with Tyrese Maxey. Let's allow him to have the green light. Let's make him into that number one scoring option. And again, I don't really believe it as I'm saying it right now. I just want to put that out there because Joel Embiid is incredible. But if it's the best case scenario for this team, as far as longevity is concerned over the next year or 2 years, to number one, take some of that pressure off of Joel Embiid, allow him to be a little bit more healthy, less used, maybe less minutes played, so on and so forth. And then, oh, by the way, Tyrese Maxey has a longer future, a brighter future with the 76ers versus anybody on this current roster right here, right now. Am I in a dream scenario pitching that to you? And therefore, if that's the case, wouldn't you have to say that Maxey's only going to take a step up as far as production is concerned this year?
Yeah, I mean, there will absolutely be the days where I think this is fully built around Tyrese Maxey. I don't think we're quite there yet. And like for as impressive and great as he is already, he'll be in age 24 next year. That he's not even into what is expected to be his professional prime. I still think Joel Embiid is that dude. I'm very curious what the mentality from Joel is. He had an interesting interview with Tim Bontemps today, talking about how he believes this could be the key for him being healthier, that having the other options that he can lean on, saying how there will be the nights where Paul George has it going, and there will be the nights where Tyrese Maxey has it going, and he doesn't have to be leaving it all on the floor in the way that he's had to do in past seasons and with past rosters. So I'm very curious what the Embiid's overall mentality and the way that he approaches things. There will be some growing pains for these three figuring out how to play together and the team as a whole, getting that power balance, because we've seen how some big threes in the past have not worked in reality as what they do in theory. Now I'm confident about the way this all fits together, but I do think like Embiid will be the leader for how they're leaning into things. If he's willing to take a step back and everybody else is capable of stepping up, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know if I fully see it playing out that way.
Yeah, I'm probably in your ballpark with that conversation. It's just, from the points per game standpoint with a guy like Tyrese Maxey, I do think he could take another step up. It's just if that's what the role is called upon and if that's the night in, night out responsibilities for Maxey. I we'll see how this plays out when they take the floor. It's one thing on paper, it's another when they're actually going up against competition. Oh, by the way, shout out Nick checking in. We do have Sixers Summer League action taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. And Nick says Ricky Council plays ball tonight. You got to love it. Ricky! Also, Sean Barnard and the great RB heading down to Vegas to check out some Summer League action. We'll be covering the Sixers, doing some content, having some fun down there, and really providing some great information and as I said, content from all things Summer League. So I'm looking forward to that. When you heading down?
Yeah, heading down Friday. So they're off in Salt Lake City for now, playing this week, and then shifts to Vegas for this weekend. So we're flying out Friday. Sixers play their first game in Vegas on Saturday, so we'll be locked in for that. Seeing who we can talk to, what we can get out of interviews, and all that type of thing. But very excited to take it in person, be a part of all the NBA world that will be there, and see what can come out of it. So very excited, and shout out to RB for helping put it together.
Yeah, the great RB does a great job. Looking forward to seeing what you boys are able to cook up out there in Vegas. It is 130 degrees out there, so you think it's hot here. Wait till you get out there. One quick thought on Summer League. What are you looking for? Like tonight, you tune in. Is there anything you're looking forward to tonight? What's the number one item on your list?
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Council will be curious to see the leap he made. Personally, I'm ready to see Jared McCain on full display. That I am a huge believer in the talent level that he has. He at Duke, they were pretty guard heavy, and he wasn't playing like a true point guard role. I think he can grow into that. So I'm kind of curious to see how these Sixers use him and what that means for visualizing what his future role is. So Jared McCain, absolutely the guy to watch. And there's plenty of other names. Tony Bradley is a guy who's a past Sixers backup center who's playing with the team down there. RJ Hampton's been a guy that has been around, that he's on the Sixers roster. Judah Mintz is a really intriguing name from Syracuse, who is a baller and a guy with some real scrappiness to him as well. So there's a lot of names that this Sixers Summer League team is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we do have NBA action tonight. I know it did tip off. I was watching a little something the other night. Forget where it was, but yeah, they're in Utah tonight. And then, of course, Vegas coming up here over the weekend. All right. Staying with the 76ers, let's get on over to Paul George and the recent podcast that he released where he said, "Oh, wait till you find out my number." And then the Sixers released the graphic. I love it. I'm sure they'll go ahead and work that out. They did show him love and did, repost his stuff and all that. So I'm sure that that's going to be worked out. But Paul George, just brought us behind the curtain and talked about getting that new contract offer from the Clippers. My biggest takeaway was this. I don't understand what the Clippers were doing, right? Like, I thought when the Clippers brought Kawhi and Paul George in, that those two were going to retire Clippers. And it seems like that would have been the best case scenario from afar. I know that they didn't win an NBA championship, but tell me we've heard this before. If those guys are healthy, you got yourself a pretty good shot. Yeah. Paul George played well. So October, Paul George says 2 years, 60 million, I want to say. So that's 30 million per. That's not going to get Paul George to sign on the dotted line. And I do think at the end of the day, disrespectful would be a word I would use. I want people to understand what we're talking about here with the level of salaries that are being put out there for players in the NBA. Paul George, 2 years, 60. What were the Clippers thinking, Sean?
They were playing hardball, and they didn't think that he would seriously leave is really what it comes down to for me. That when Paul George and Kawhi went to California, and of course we know Paul George is a Los Angeles kid at his hometown, parents all involved, being capable of going to every home game, all these types of things. The goal on both sides was for him to retire a Clipper, for him to play out the entirety of his career there at this point. And I think the Clippers were very much operating with that as that is the finite answer, that ultimately he's going to stay here. He won't actually leave. And for Paul George, I think you're absolutely right that he did feel disrespected by that he did feel that he wasn't taking with the seriousness that should be the case for a guy who still is an all-star as of last year. So for Paul George, I think it's interesting. You're right about the inflated numbers that we get lost in, how crazy these numbers are. But the reality is this is more about how your feeling is valued by the organization. Now, when you're seeing what other players in your vicinity as a talent level are making versus you, that's kind of where the respect factor comes in. And I do think that's where Paul George got his feathers ruffled there. Think about 2 years, 60 million. He's making close to double that on what his ultimate Sixers answer was. He's closer to that than anything. So pretty crazy how it did play out. And as far as like seeing Paul George actually talk about it, this to me is one of the coolest parts of having players control the narratives and have their voices. That this kind of look behind the curtain of Paul George actually getting into the details of how those conversations went, to me, I think is very cool. I do think it's worth it for everyone to check out that full podcast episode and see his full thoughts on it, because I thought he explained it in a really cool way. But glad it ultimately ended up in him coming to Philadelphia, but the Clippers absolutely fumbled this one.
Do you know what Kawhi was offered and the deal? Because, wouldn't that have been the best case scenario for the Clippers to say, okay, Kawhi said he's going to take less. Paul George said he would just take what Kawhi took. Let's make that happen. Is there truth behind that, or did Kawhi get more than what they could even make work for Paul George?
Yeah, so Kawhi officially signed his contract for 3 years, $149.5 million. And Paul George went into these conversations, like started off in his own individual negotiations, which is where this 2-year, $60 million number came from. Then Kawhi ultimately agreed to that price. And that's where Paul George turned it to, okay, well, just give me that same exact number. You guys view us the same. We're the two stars. Give me that. The Clippers weren't willing to do that. And then they went a little bit below that. And then Paul George said, okay, well, if that's the case, I want the no trade clause as a part of it, because I don't want it to be, I signed this and you just ship me, we're off. And what should be noted here is, let's not forget, I understand that this was before Steve Ballmer and a lot of changes within the organization, but Blake Griffin signed a max contract with the Clippers and was traded to the Detroit Pistons 6 months later at this point, this same exact franchise. So this kind of stuff does stick on players' minds there. And then Paul George pushed it to, if you didn't want the no trade clause, then I want the full max scale for 4 years then, because I want to know, even if you do trade me, then that I am getting that dollar amount. So there was a lot of just a little disconnect in what each of these guys wanted, what the Clippers were willing to sacrifice, what Paul George wanted. From Paul George's like account of it, this was not about like him being dead set on a dollar figure or dead set on a length of time. He was open to taking less in either, but ultimately, like, it didn't feel that it was the give and take he needed to be the case there, and that's what led it to being in Philadelphia.
Now he's getting cheesesteaks at Geno's. He's on the tarmac talking to John Clark. Johnny Airport got him. It's hot out there today too, and I'm sure he came in, signed those papers or whatever he did. Can't you sign papers in LA? I don't know. He came in. Any idea why he came in?
Not fully sure. I know he mentioned
meet people, I would imagine, maybe, right?
Yeah, probably something along those lines. And I know he mentioned like he hasn't truly experienced Philadelphia yet. So he talked about how he does want to take a trip and just kind of get a lay of the land, see what's out here, check out some of the food scene and restaurants. So it might just be a trip to kind of see what it's about. But I don't know as far as Sixers, unless they're doing an official press conference in the coming days. It could be for something like that, but I haven't heard an official reason yet.
All right. Yeah, maybe he's flying out today. I think that might be the case. But again, when you got your own PJ, baby, you can go ahead and hop the flight anytime you want. Yep. One other question, a couple other from Paul George. I asked Mark Henry Jr. this question because I don't think this is being said enough. Like, I get it. He's 34 and people want to make the worst case scenario 4 years down the road. Oh, my goodness. But he's coming off his most efficient season in quite some time, played 74 plus games. Really good. I know he didn't have the best playoff run, but pretty darn good. Wasn't the worst. He had like 1 or 2 bad games, finished with 8 points in one game. Other than that, he played well, in my opinion, but each their own. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder there. A question that I asked Mark Henry Jr., because we're not hearing the word Hall of Fame enough or the term Hall of Fame enough in my mind. And I get it. It's cloudy because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. But if we're talking specifically, strictly NBA Hall of Fame, Paul George, first ballot NBA Hall of Famer?
I think so. And I think like he obviously can certainly strengthen his case if he has success here. But I think if he were to call it a career right now before coming to the Sixers, I still think he probably makes the Hall of Fame. But like there was a point in time, let's not forget about Paul George headlining the Indiana Pacers, going head to head with LeBron James. And I know he was much younger and his career probably hasn't taken the leaps and bounds since that point. But the dude's a 9-time All-Star. He's been an All-NBA level defender, made All-NBA defensive teams. The postseason success a little shorthanded, but he has at least gone the distance, gone to conference finals, those type of levels, and had, as much as he's had some low moments in the playoffs, there have been highs as well. So I do think Paul George would be a Hall of Famer right now, and I think he can really solidify that here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's first ballot, in my opinion, without a question. And this is just, of course, you add everything, the USA, all that, whatever else you could toss into the conversation. He's going to get to the Hall of Fame. But if we're just talking strictly about what he's been able to do at the professional level, 9-time All-Star, you said all this, 6-time All-NBA, That's the best of the best. Like, I get it. All-star, you might have a little say about. You can't take a knock or take a shot at an all NBA selection. Stop it.
Top 15 player. Yeah.
Four-time all defense. 3 straight conference finals, as you pointed out, against the big 3. And, oh, by the way, 2021 took the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi Leonard there.
Yep.
Finished third in the MVP, 18-19. Like, Paul George has a hell of a resume. The Sixers are adding a first ballot Hall of Famer here to help out with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and the growth there. Like, I'm not hearing enough about Paul George and what he's been able to accomplish, other than, more so I'm hearing the it's a 4-year deal. He's 34. Like, I don't care. This year, let's go. You can only go year by year when it comes to the NBA.
Yeah.
We've seen some crazy things take place. Players forced their way out of places, owners getting upset, teams just trade draft picks, doing drastic things. So who knows what's taking place? But this year, I'm excited. Paul George, adding him to the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't get much better than that. But like, since the last time a player just up and left the franchise and signed a max contract somewhere else was 2019 in the NBA. That these really don't come along all that often, where no strings attached, no sign and trade, no sort of deal where a team isn't getting anything returned. Paul George decided, I don't want to play in Los Angeles and I want to play in Philadelphia, and signed the contract that was waiting for him there. So shout out to Daryl Morey for being prepared. This was the cap space plan, and it just took one player to jump on it, and Paul George took that bait there. So welcome to Philadelphia.
Can we get Daryl Morey a new coat? Or do we not mess with that, because that's his closer coat, and apparently he's getting the job done when it comes to getting these players to sign a deal, whether it's James Harden, Paul George, whatever. But he was rocking the coat again with the Tyrese Maxey video. He's in that same blue coat. It's just like, you only got one coat, Daryl? Come on, man. You're making a ton of money. You just got a new contract extension. Go out there and get yourself a nice suit. Let's go.
Yeah, same coat that he had at the James Harden press conference. It is his. That's his sport coat. That's his look. I wouldn't even surprise me if Daryl Morey was the type of guy who's like, he has multiple of the same jacket type vibe. That would not shock me if Daryl is a guy like that. I know they're out there for sure. So yeah. I'm not going to doubt the cleanliness, but maybe a new look for sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure they got dry cleaners in that practice facility over there in Camden, right? I'm sure they got something along those lines, and I would imagine that coat stays inside. It might be his closer coat. Who knows? That was Kyle Pagan that pointed that out. So I'll give credit on that one, but he was wearing it. I did look at it and said, man, he seems to be in that coat all the time, that blue coat. And then all of a sudden you saw Pagan put it out there from Crossing Proud. I was just cracking up. And then, of course, the Maxey video is released last night. And I know everybody was going nuts over the black jerseys, but that was the first thing that caught my mind was, of course, Daryl Morey in the blue coat. All right, another one from the weekend with the picture being released. Shoes off at the door.
Power move.
Man, you're asking a lot. You really are. So if you're a real rock star, you have the boots for the people when they kick the shoes off. All right, just saying, like, you should have those boots, the scrubs, whatever. And if people want to wear them over your shoes, that's fine. But people got to have their sock game in check. I went to a kid's birthday party where I should have known better, and I'm wearing my ankles, not even the ankle socks, the lower ones, to cover up the feet. And I go in, and it's just at this kid's playground area where you got to take your shoes off, and like my one sock is all blue. I'm just like, oh my goodness, man, I didn't know I got to take my shoes off here. So I felt like, like an idiot. But here you got Josh Harris in the black socks with the yellow top, Elton Brand all the way in the back with the white socks. I was just cracking up. No shoes on inside the house. That's next level.
Yeah, I do think
you made Dr. J kick his shoes off.
I do think it was a power move from Paul George there. I do love the respect all around. And I got some pushback immediately on Twitter for saying something about that. People saying like, it shouldn't matter if you're a millionaire or you're anyone else. I don't know what this says about me, but we had a nice birthday for my grandma yesterday, and all of us in that house were wearing our shoes in my aunt's house there. So I don't know. That's just the way that we rolled around these parts. I do love that Paul George did make them strip it at the door there.
Pretty funny stuff, and especially the stuff that we talk about. Hey, and I get Paul George with the AI shirt. That did not look like AI. I don't know, just looked like a knockoff AI shirt.
Maybe it'd come up with it quick, who knows? But I do love both the symbolic portion of it of, you have your answer there and the answer Allen Iverson and just him. Like, that's a cool moment. Can you picture Josh Harris, Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, and everyone pulling up for that first meeting and you see him in an Allen Iverson t-shirt? That's a really special and cool moment that I think will stick with all these guys and a good way to start out on the right foot. So shout out to Paul George for sure.
What a ride it's been. And Paul George is with the Philadelphia 76ers. And of course, Daryl Morey had a great offseason with the additions. Well, look, Oubre back, Maxey 5-year deal, Drummond 2-year deal, Paul George 4-year deal, Eric Gordon 2-year deal, Caleb Martin agrees to the deal 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. He's 28 years old.
Yep.
Yes, they lost Nick Batum, Obama, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, but connect the dots, man. This is a strong roster and possibly the best roster that Joel Embiid has played with in a Sixers uniform.
Yeah, I think absolutely. For sure, the one that makes the most sense or has been constructed with his best interests in mind as far as rounding out a roster there. I do think like the Caleb Martin sealing it as that final piece of the starting five, at least for now, is a huge deal this weekend. And allegedly turned down a 5-year, $65 million deal with Miami to sign for 4 years, 32 with the Sixers team. So maybe we got to start having a conversation about Sixers culture around these parts.
That's right. And also, I know people would like to point out the Jimmy Butler season with the Sixers, but again, there's something fresh about starting from the beginning and heck, starting in July, right? With the season starting in October. So long way to go. But right now on paper, I'm excited. And I think a lot of Sixer fans are excited as well.
Yeah, and the other thing to note about those Jimmy Butler teams is Joel Embiid was not Joel Embiid just yet for that point in time. Like, he has very much evolved into one of these, for sure, top 5 players in the NBA since that point. I think one of the mistakes that was made with the Sixers franchise was cashing the chips in a little bit too early. That's something I'm respecting about the way that Oklahoma City seems to be dead set in their timeline and not wasting these picks in a way or going all in at a point where they probably shouldn't just yet. I do think the Sixers made that mistake and they found a way to recover. So absolutely, I'm with you that this team is better constructed than that team.
Pressure's on OKC now, though. We'll see what they do moving forward. You're right. They deserve credit to where they're at, but now there's expectations. Now you got people like yourself saying they should be favored to win the West. Not that you're on an island, but at the same time, now we'll see what OKC is dealing with down there. When I don't know what their fans are like. Something tells me they're nothing like us here in Philadelphia, which is probably a good thing for the folks in the front office with the Thunder. But again, expectations are there. And this isn't easy with the salary cap and these aprons and all that, which we're going to get into a little bit more here with the conversation about LeBron James and the LA Lakers. So with that being said, let's move off of all things Sixers and just get caught up a little. Just getting caught up on what took place over the weekend. It was a long weekend for a lot of us here. Bronny James, come on down. He played. LeBron James, Team USA. They got together out there in Vegas. Let's start with LeBron because LeBron talked about how he took a pay cut, and I think he wants a little bit more credit. Where are you at with that conversation, LeBron James taking a pay cut?
He didn't. He didn't take a pay cut is my immediate response there. Basically, LeBron threatened saying, I'm willing to take a pay cut if you can get one of these guys. If not, I'm taking the full money. And that's basically how things played out. Now, to give the full numbers here for what is actually the case with LeBron is that his max contract for 2 seasons would have been $104 million. What he officially signed with, 2 years, $101.3 million there. So maybe sacrificing $3.7 million. He's still taking $101 million there. And also completely non-related, the Lakers drafted his son and hired his podcast co-host as head coach this offseason. So I wouldn't say LeBron has been a model for sacrifice at this point in time. He's still a phenomenal player. He still deserves that money if you really want to drop it and make sure that, he's getting what he earns. But I do think it's a little unfair or, doesn't quite portray the story the way that he is kind of representing things right now.
Yeah. Also with the Lakers, Bronny gets his debut and it's one game in. I don't like again, we've had this conversation very limited. We weren't over the top, but we've had this conversation where we understand it. And Colin Cowherd pointed out where it's like, how many trucks do you drive by and it says and Sons? I just did it this morning. I took my mom to the airport at 6 a.m. You know how many trucks I saw drive me and Sons? Like it beats you over the head. So I don't care. None of that bothered me. He got drafted. He's getting a guaranteed deal. That was a little, okay, eye-opening. And now Bronny plays one game. He's got a sore knee, and he misses the second game. And immediately my mind goes to, and look, I don't know what the expectations are for this kid. I can tell you what the betting market is for him, right? There's a lot of options being offered on DraftKings Sportsbook for him. Like, I don't think he plays 10 games with the LA Lakers this year. I really don't. I think it's somewhere in the range of like 5, 8, 10 max. There are people out there that are saying he's going to play in 20 games this year. I don't see that. I think it would be in the Lakers' best interest to just keep this kid in the G League. Again, from afar, I have no idea what he looks like, X, Y, Z. But here's with what just took place, and this is me digging way too deep into the fact that he didn't play in game 2. When you talk about players in the G League, like, there's a hunger, there's a fight, there's a want, like scrappiness. I don't know if Bronny's going to have that. He's been handed everything on a platter already. He's got a guaranteed deal. He's able to take a second game off. What G League player is able to take a second game off in the history of this league, Sean Barnard? Now, again, is he really hurt? I don't know. But I could just tell you how it feels for me. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't care. We're talking about it as two hosts here. I understand. Bronny is his own. Like, I don't want to kill him. He's doing his own thing. He's gotten to this point. He deserves a lot of credit. But, man, this is coming off like this might be a disaster after it's all said and done. It might way off. Where do you stand on the whole Bronny? And, of course, his debut. What was your thoughts in the first game?
Yeah, I certainly don't think you're way off. He had 4 points on 2 of 9 shooting in his debut there. There was a quote by LeBron, which I think I'll just read the LeBron quote and then give my take from there. But he says, quote, "Just imagine if you were a kid, you were born in a situation where your dad was super famous, super wealthy, and you, the kid, still had that drive to want to be able to accomplish things for yourself. I personally don't know if I would have been able to do that if the roles were reversed. When I was coming up, I had no choice. I had to make it out for me, my mom, my family, my hometown, my city. If Bronny wants to stop right now and never play basketball or just wanted to be a gamer or wanted to be a chef, he could have done that. People don't understand how hard that is and the commitment from him to be coming out of heart surgery less than a year ago for him to be able to be in the NBA. The kid, he's special." So a nice sentiment from LeBron there, but I do think that you can look in this in either direction. That, like, you can't recreate that amount of hunger, that desire, that like need to make this work. And we've all felt that at points beyond just obviously not in the lane of the NBA, but whether this is a work thing or whether this is a school thing or whatever, that I need to make sure I get this done. I don't know if Bronny ever has felt quite that same feeling. And it's interesting. I hear it talked about with, like, to use Conor McGregor as an example in the UFC. It's a little more difficult to get there, get on the mat and grapple when you got 100 mil in your bank account. Like, that's kind of a little bit of the mentality that's tough to combat there. To just call a spade, like Bronny, in my eyes, is not an NBA player yet and has not shown that he has that capability. And it will be interesting to me when you bring up the games where the politics of this fully get in. If LeBron's saying, like, I want Bronny on the court, or I want him out there. If we're just purely going off NBA talent, he shouldn't be suiting up for any games for this Lakers team and, like, needs some time in the G League to improve. So I don't want to kill the kid or write him off because he has had a tough path with the heart is like a real issue for him, missing preseason, all that type of thing. But he still played. He was 6th in minutes on a USC team that went below 500 and missed the tournament. We're a disaster all year. And he didn't pop by any means in my eyes. So we'll see how it plays out. I do think we're heading towards disaster.
Yeah, it's especially for year one. Again, a long way to go. If I had to make you give me a guess right now, how many games does he play this year?
15, I'll go. And that's much more of a forcing it in garbage time type thing than him playing any impactful minutes. I think he will play more minutes than he should based on all the obvious reasons here.
Yeah, like the G League needs to be where he plays. Yes. And then I think when there's garbage games in March, April, he can get plenty of run there. They're definitely going to play him. Like, Jansen was blown away when I brought that up to him. I'm like, dude, this is a Hollywood script. They're in Hollywood. This was meant to be. This is already set in stone. He's playing this year. I know LeBron signed a 2-year deal. Who knows what happens next year, but Bronny will be suiting up for the Lakers, and it's going to be cool. Like, at the end of the day, that is awesome. LeBron and his son out there. I don't care how it happened. I don't care the politics. That moment, that time, like Bronny throwing an assist, like a alley-oop to LeBron, that's gonna be pretty damn cool, man. Or LeBron drives and then Bronny for an open three, with his first bucket in the NBA. Come on, man. This is entertainment at the end of the day, and that's what it's all about for us. I'm not a Lakers fan. I don't care. That's that they're the ones that are focused on banners and competing with the Boston Celtics of all time. I get that, but from an entertainment standpoint, I think it's something that's cool. And of course, market the hell out of it. And you're talking about one of the greatest basketball players of all time with LeBron. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some cool aspects and positives of it. I was trying to run through the Griffeys are the obvious answer, and like even like the Ripkins as far as father-son duos or fathers and sons that have both been successful at their respective sports. This is, I believe, my understanding, the first active father and son in NBA history. So they do have that going for it. Another record for LeBron to throw his name on there. So who knows? Maybe this does work out completely positive. I do feel bad for Bronny from an extent of like he's thrown under the microscope and he's got impossible shoes to remotely live up to that. I just don't think he's anywhere possible to be the case, but we'll see how it fully plays out.
The other brothers are going to come in and really school everybody. Watch out. He might be the truth, and no one's talking about him at all.
He's bigger. He's bigger than Bronny. Bryce is already like 6'5", 6'6", compared to Bronny's tapping out around 6'2", 6'3". So who knows? That doesn't necessarily mean better, but at least, you got a little more wiggle room there.
Yeah, we'll see. There are Bronny specials up on DraftKings Sportsbook. Be sure to use Brace as a promo code for all you new users. You give me thumbs up, thumbs down. Bronny James, 15-plus points in any regular season game this year, minus 110.
Thumbs down. No shot.
Bronny James, 3+ threes made in any regular season game, plus 120.
Still say no.
4+ threes made.
Definitely not.
Plus 550. Bronny James, 20+ points in a regular season game this year, plus 800.
Nope, I just don't see it.
5 3-pointers made, plus 1,200.
No way. You can maybe talk me into 3, 4, and 5. No way.
Bronny James, 8+ assists in any regular season game, plus 1,600.
No, thank you.
Bronny James, 25 points, plus 1,800.
Jeez, no shot.
Bronny James, 10+ assists in any regular season game, plus 3,000.
Wow. Yeah, I don't see anywhere else. These looks like sportsbook donations to me.
Double-double?
No way. I don't think you ever had one in college. I'm pretty sure you didn't register a single double-double in college.
All right. Moving on. Poor Bronny. He's got a bank account. He got a guarantee deal, whatever. This has got that vibe of like, here you go. Everything on a platter. Oh, but we need you to go play hard. And then what if he's getting minutes over some of these other guys? Like, it might blow up. It might blow up this year. And that's part of the entertainment value behind the hiring of JJ and bringing in Bronny and re-signing LeBron. It's the Lakers. This is what they want. This is what they're all about. So, yeah, they were able to win a championship, of course, down in the bubble. We understand that kind of took on a new light over the years. Kobe's long gone. I just don't see this franchise flipping it over and winning anytime soon. So why not have some fun in the entertainment category? That's all.
Brace, to go right back at you on these. If I had to ask you what Bronny's career high in his 25 games of college was, what would be your guess?
Points-wise?
Yeah, we'll start at points.
I don't think he ever scored double-digit points, so I would say 8.
He scored double-digit points 3 times. 15 is his career high there. How about assists? Any guess there?
If they're throwing out a double-double, it has to be. Give me 7.
7 on the money. Well done there. And how about 3-pointers made at the college level? What is the most amount of 3-pointers Bronny James has made?
He had to make 3 in a game.
He did not. He made 2 on 3 separate occasions. He also went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games, 12 of the 25 games without making a single 3-pointer.
All right. Well, hopefully he's down there, and I don't even know where those G League games are being played, but good luck. Where is the Lakers? Who is the Lakers G League team? Any idea?
I believe it's still in California. I'm drawing a blank on the name. For Summer League, they're out in Salt Lake City right now, so hopefully getting in some shots up there to fast track that process.
That's it. All right, couple quick ones on the way out here. Danny Hurley got his new deal from UConn. I saw some people asking $50 million plus incentives or the $70 million for the Lakers. If you can rewrite history and you're Dan Hurley, did he make the right decision in your mind?
Well, I think for the same conversation that we just had about what a story and show that the Lakers are more so than a competent basketball team right now. I think that's why Dan Hurley stayed more than anything. That the money is one thing, but if you're actually like putting yourself in the spot to be a successful basketball coach, which I think is Dan Hurley's preference or desire far more than any of the off the court stuff, he did do the right thing staying at UConn and has a real chance to cement that legacy. And the NBA will be waiting for him if he does want to take that leap at another point.
Team USA put together for the upcoming Olympics in Paris at the end of the month. Is Anthony Edwards the best player on that team? Is he really, truly the number one option?
He definitely is not. I do respect the Anthony Edwards believing it, saying with his chest. I think there's a part of me that thinks it's coming off a little bit more of a gimmick than him actually believing at this point. That we know he's kind of made a name for himself for being this confident, cocky kind of dude, and there's nothing wrong with that. He walks the walk and talks the talk. But I think the reality check for Anthony Edwards will come into last time that he was suiting up for Team USA. Roster looked a little bit different than the power pack roster of LeBron James, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and all these other impressive names that are there. So at one point, he was the number one option. I don't think it's going to be this time around.
And Jason Tatum, too, as well.
Sure.
Right. Steph. Yeah, we can just go on and on. That team is loaded. And then finally, let me ask you about Joel Embiid. And I think, look, there are idiots on social media, but I don't, until I see it on television or somebody that actually has a resume or somebody's take that I should care about with Joel Embiid playing for Team USA, I'm not getting caught up. There are idiots that will say anything on social media, and that's fine. But as far as Joel Embiid playing for Team USA and the competition in the Olympics, now Team USA has had the times where they lost and then they bounce back, and I think they've righted the wrongs over the last few years. Everything runs together. But does this Team USA need Joel Embiid to win gold this year, or would they have been okay without Joel Embiid in your mind?
Yeah, I think they probably win gold with or without Joel Embiid, but I'm happy that he's there. And on a lot of accounts that I've seen, certainly the takes the concern over the injury factor. I personally view it in the positive way of that he's going to be staying in shape, playing active basketball against the highest talent in the world. And there's no way to replicate that sort of competition level in any sort of training. So him being able to go head to head with the Jason Tatums and Steph Currys and Anthony Edwards and everyone else, I think it's just iron sharpening iron. And I also love that he is representing the United States, that I have seen a ton of the pushback. France specifically has been super critical of him and the people over there. Joel Embiid is as much of the American dream personified as it comes. This dude left his home country of Cameroon at 16 years old, has played the entirety of his basketball career in America. He's had his child in America, got married in America. Like, this is what you hope for. This is a guy who chose to make his life better, come over, has assimilated the culture in a terrific way, and now gets to represent this country on the international level. So I'm happy Joel Embiid is representing USA. I'm happy he's playing in the Olympics, and I do think that this team will be winning gold.
I do as well. I just wonder if there's going to be some competition. I think France has got some players over there. Of course, Giannis just made it with Greece. I just, when it comes to the Olympics, there's a lot of names that I don't know, but Canada. I am Canada.
Canada's the real
Canada's
deal.
got a good roster. Yeah, they got a good roster. You're right. They do.
Yeah. SGA, Jamal Murray, they got a pretty talented core up there in Canada. Dylan Brooks on the team as well. They got some real deal NBA talent on that roster. Spain's looks pretty loaded as well. Even Germany's looking solid with Franz Wagner, Dennis Schroeder, a couple guys. So there's a lot of deep teams. More so than ever, basketball has become an international sport. So it's gonna be cool to see these guys suit up and see how it shakes out.
USA minus 390 on DraftKings Sportsbook to win gold. Canada 9-1, France 10-1, Serbia 13-1, Greece 19-1, Germany 28-1. We'll stop there, but USA prohibitive favorites to win the gold over there in Paris. Scoring leader Joel Embiid plus 350, leading the charge.
He's the favorite there.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
Kevin
surprised
Durant
by that.
Plus 450, Anthony Edwards plus 550, Steph 6-1.
Wow. I don't hate it. I'm curious the mentality Joel comes in with. If he's in attack mode and wants to score and wants to look like the best player, he's capable of doing that. I do think he will open some eyes with like how talented he is when sharing the floor with these type of guys, because that could absolutely happen. I'm a little bit surprised to see that he's the favorite considering this is his first go round.
Yeah, I don't see Joel Embiid being in attack mode. I think he's going to be sharing the basketball. I think there's going to be a lot of three-pointers attempted, a lot of three-pointers made. So I would probably look elsewhere. I just don't know what I'm getting into as far as minutes. And of course, that's where you got to go with this sort of thing. But as when we get closer, you can place this wager up until July the 27th. So we got some time. We'll find out who's doing what, the starting lineup, all that and more. But we got 12 teams or 12 names there, and all of them can fill it up. So we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, Sean Barnard. A lot to catch up from over the weekend. Great stuff. Glad to have you back here. Of course, looking forward to your coverage out there in the Summer League with the great RB take. Any final thoughts before we get out here today?
Yeah, no, I'm excited that we're having some live basketball to talk about, both at the summer league level and the international level. We'll hit into our gap where football season hits full swing and basketball's kind of put off to the side. But I still think there's a decent amount on the table right now, and still some roster to fill out for this Sixers team. So a lot of news still coming our way.
All right. Get your shoes off. Come on in. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck on those plays. Sean Barnard, once again, can be found on socials at Sean_Barnard1.